As I said, if anyone brought up other criticisms of the Zoe and Grace not relationship, I would possibly respond to them. And here's one such example. So, to be honest, until this particular Reddit comment, I'd never heard the term queerbaiting. Or if I had, then at the time I didn't have the means to look it up because when I read the comment, I had no idea what it meant. And for those of you who still don't know, essentially what it is a story clearly painting a queer relationship with heavily romantic overtones, basically shouting from the rooftops, these two are going to get together, and then doing a 180 later saying, oh, but they were straight the whole time, how could you think they would be any more than friends? And in terms of the Grace and Zoe relationship, I really don't think it's queerbaiting. For one, the hinting at Grace being gay has no more ground to it than Tristan or Miles saying that Grace only dresses the way she does to attract girls, not boys. Yeah, she did get Gloria Chin's phone number, but we really don't have reason to believe that she was intending on doing anything with it other than to get Zig and Tiny into cheerleading outfits. And when she made that comment of, who said I was gay, it wasn't flirtatious or performed as there being truth into her being possibly queer. The way the actress played it off, it was entirely playful, meant to rub in the fact that I'm not even into girls and I can still get a number from them unlike you. And then when it comes to the relationship in general, I can see how Grace's attachment to Zoe can be mistaken for romantic overtones. And I feel like they leave some ambiguity in the Don't Look Back movie because, as the comment pointed out, it wasn't certain if there was going to be any more Degrassi after that. But I don't feel like there was enough ambiguity to conclusively say that it was hinting that Grace was gay. If you force yourself to rewatch the movie for the Grace and Zoe scenes, it's clear that we're seeing early signs of Grace's fear of being ditched, how she's scared to get close to anyone because what if they one day just up and leave? Recall that's one of the major reasons why she doesn't tell people she has CF. Once the going gets hard, then gone they'll be, as if there were never anything to begin with. And so when Zoe started ditching Grace to hang out with Miles to test to see if she was actually gay, Grace felt that once more she let someone get close and now they're about to leave her. And then once she feels that Zoe isn't going to just ditch her for Miles, then we see the fear of her being used come in. She was afraid that Zoe was just taking advantage of Grace, trying to create a three-way with her and her boyfriend. So not only was Zoe ditching their friendship, but then also treating Grace as an object rather than a person that she cared about. Or at least that's the fear that Grace had about Zoe. And we also see this later on in season 4 of Next Class when Grace is afraid that Jonah is just using Grace as a rebound before getting back with Frankie. And then on the point where Grace says that she doesn't do relationships, frankly, I think she means any kind of friendships. Yes, it could be taken either way, but compare how close Zoe was getting to Grace versus Grace's supposedly best friend of Maya or Zig or even Tiny. Sure, Grace spent time with all three of them, but Zoe was the one that she goofed off with. The one where Grace wasn't the scary badass, but someone you could chill with. She and Zoe were spending all their time together, and if you watch their interactions, Grace didn't act like that around her other friends. And this makes me think that maybe even if Maya, Zig, or Tiny think that they're close with Grace, they're actually rather distant. For one, again, none of them knew at the time that Grace had CF, and they'd known her for how long? And two, this kind of thing happens all the time. Hell, I know from personal experience being in friendships with people and them calling us best friends, while here I am thinking, oh, you don't know anything about me, but sure, call it what you like. Just kind of going with the flow of what the other person's saying because you don't care to point out, well, you don't know the real me. We've all been in situations where someone claims that you two are so close, and yet you can list so many things that you just can't do with this person because you recognize the distance between you two. And I feel like on some level, that's how Grace felt with Maya, Zig, and Tiny. But with Zoe, she dared to let her get close because she thought that Zoe was different. And it still says something that if Grace would have had her way, she wouldn't have let Zoe know that she has CF. Because remember, she initially tried to hide it. And once Zoe did find out, and it seemed to Grace that Zoe wasn't gonna just ditch her right off the bat, then she let Zoe in more, becoming even closer than she was with anyone else in school or even in her life other than possibly her mom. And this is what makes it all the more harder when Zoe decided that just being friends wouldn't work for her. And that put Grace in a tough position. She wasn't into girls, but she wanted to try for Zoe. And yes, technically she was leading Zoe on, but her intentions weren't full of malice. She was trying to figure out, well, am I for certain not at least bi? Could I possibly just make myself like being with the girl so that what Zoe and I have together won't be ruined because I don't feel the same way? And it's not unreasonable for Grace to think that their relationship would change if she rejected Zoe. It's extremely common for two friends to drift apart once it comes out that one has more feelings for the other than the other does for them. It makes everything awkward and kinda unbearable. And that's what Grace was afraid of. But she also trusted Zoe in where she could tell her when things just weren't working out. And as I said earlier, while they made it just a tiny bit ambiguous what Grace felt for Zoe in the Don't Look Back movie, in Next Class Season 1, they telegraphed it everywhere that Grace wasn't into Zoe that way. We see it immediately with her reaction to Zoe kissing her for the second time. Sure, she tried to smile through it afterwards, trying to see if she could just make herself like girls, but when you rewatch it, some of the awkwardness does come off as she's not fully into this. And also a quick side note, who said that Grace and Zoe had sex? They really left that part ambiguous. For all we know, they could have just intensely made out. If anything, I guess you could accuse Don't Look Back to be queerbaiting because of how slightly ambiguous it is, but when you watch Next Class Season 1, they very much backtrack on it and make it clear that Grace was never going to be into this. And frankly, if you're going to call Season 1 queerbaiting, then you'd have to call it queerbaiting when it happens in real life, because it does. It happened to me. I dated a girl, did sexual things with her, only to be told that I'm the straightest person she knew, because I clearly wasn't into doing sexual things with her. And it's not like I didn't try. I tried to go through the motions of being a sexual person without really understanding why I didn't feel the same. At the time, I didn't know I was asexual, but I knew she liked me, and we were really close friends. As close as Zoe and Grace, if not closer, and I wanted to be certain that I didn't feel the same way before rejecting her, so I said, what the hey, let's give it a shot. If Next Class Season 1 was queerbaiting, then you're kind of calling experimentation queerbaiting as well. Now, if you want a good example of queerbaiting, I'd recommend looking into Hibike Euphonium, although probably don't, it's kind of frustrating. In the first season, Kumiko and Reina get really close, even to the point of, in episode 8, having a kind of date, although admittedly it was rather impromptu, but on that date, it is very heavily painted as romantic. Reina pouring her heart out to Kumiko, explaining why she likes her so much, hell, going as far to say that that's what she loves about her. And Kumiko coming to understand her middle school acquaintance, and even commenting mentally and to Reina herself just how gorgeous Reina was that night. Not to mention there was no lack of blushing between the two. And then come season 2, oh, they were straight all along, they were just friends. Reina's into their music instructor, and Kumiko's gonna get with her childhood friend. I think this is more of a blatant case of queerbaiting because of how overly romanticized the relationship was right before the 180 shift. The mixture of lighting, dialogue, how the scene was set, it's on a whole nother level than Degrassi ever got with Grace and Zoe. And quick disclaimer, even if the author's intent was always to have the two in a straight relationship, in the anime it is very overtly displayed with extreme Yuri overtones. Thank you for consuming this video, and I mean no ill will towards the person who made the comment that I'm responding to. You actually gave me a lot to think about here and a lot to dissect, which is awesome. And if you guys have any other criticisms to the storyline, or if you feel differently from me, feel free to leave a comment. And if you'd like to talk with me on off-topic things like other Degrassi storylines, Steven Universe, musicals, just about anything, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. You can find me at NotAVampyre, and like with YouTube or Reddit comments, if I have something to say, I will say it, just might take me a little while. Thank you very much again, and until next time.